Welcome. I hope everyone's well tonight. We're going to start with a couple passages on Apocalypse, on endings. This is from Jerusalem, Book 3, Vernal's Inquest. We're going to start with an earlier apocalypse, before we were around, when heaven split in half and hell spilled out. So this is from Clouds Unfold. It's the words of St. Michael. Here am I become a soldier at the fall, my staff made slippery with the ichors of the fallen, as we drive them down into the low geometries, into the hells of substance and sensation, torture mazes of the intellect, maelstroms of bile and longing. We are loving them and weeping as we run them through and tread them under out of mathematical necessity. The 32nd spirit, who is mighty, drags himself towards me down the Q shaft that impales him, coughing up a blood of logarithms. Rape is in his red eye, murder in his green one. Algebra spills from his punctured breast, and he reviles me, saying, "Brother, fellow builder, how is it that you treat us thus, when we are but unfolded leaves of thee? It is thine own selves that are trampled here into this dark, into this worldly muck." The words he speaks are true. I raise my naked foot and plant it square against him, push his gory weight along my spear's slick length, kick him from its blue powdered end to plummet, howling into stars and calendars and money, into form and passion and regret. Around me, in this slaughter firmament, this massacre of clouds, our painful war rages forever, and the maimed jinns are like locusts, raining on parched fields where we have sown a universe. And now, a little further in, our own world. The emerald bauble of the planet, nested on a sequin-dusted jeweler's cushion of black velvet. This is not the world. The several billion apes with improved posture that cavort across the planet's surface, these are likewise not the world. The world is no more than an aggregate of your ideas about the world, of your ideas about yourselves. It is the vast mirage, baroque and intricate, that you are building as a shelter from the overwhelming fractal chaos of the universe. It is composed from things of the imagination, from philosophies, economies, and wavering faith, from your self-serving individual agendas and your colorful notions of destiny. It is a flight of fancy, spun to while away those empty-bellied Neolithic nights, a wishful fantasy of how mankind might one day live, a campfire tale you tell yourselves, and then forget is just a tale that you are telling, that you have made up and have mistaken for reality. Civilization is your earliest science fiction story. You come up with it so that you'll have something to do, something to occupy yourselves during the centuries to come. Don't you remember? For all that it manifests materially in castles, hospitals, sofas, and atom bombs, the world is founded in the immaterial reaches of the human mind, is standing on a flimsy paradigm that has no actual substance. And if that foundation does not hold, if it is based perhaps upon a flawed perception of the universe that does not match with later observation, then the whole confection falls into an abyss of unbeing, both in terms of its construction and its ideology. The world is far from sound. To be quite honest, it's a creaking death trap. And there are all of these health and safety regulations. I don't make the rules. I am a builder. You'll appreciate that this entails a lot of demolition work. Your world, the way you think about yourselves, and your most fundamental notions of reality are the result of unskilled labor, cowboy workmanship. There's bad subsidence, dry rot in the moral timbers. This will all have to come down. And it's not going to be cheap. Does the phrase clearance area mean anything to you? Ideas of self, ideas of world and family and nation, articles of scientific or religious faith, your creeds and currencies, one by one, the beloved structures falling. And one more ending a little further in. In the afterlife, Snowy and May are traveling to the end of time. As they approach, he's in a relatively narrow channel of near infinite extent, finally close enough to the imposing shape that blocks his path to see that it's actually a pair of 9-foot giants who are stood shoulder to shoulder. Both are barefoot, clad in plain white linen smocks, and each one holds a snooker cue proportionate to their tremendous size. The figure on the left has hair as colorless as Snowy's and is instantly identifiable as Mansoul's Trilliard champion, Mighty Mike. His curly-haired and russet-bearded counterpart has mismatched eyes, one red, the other green. This latter rumbles with amusement as the human couple's tremulous approach. Look at the faces they've got on them. Why, you'd think that they were expecting the third burrow. Perched atop her grandsire, May's smooth forehead corrugates into a suspicious frown. Perhaps we were. But aren't you Asmodee, the 32nd spirit? What are you dressed as a master builder for? The erstwhile fiend raises his bristling brows in mock surprise. Because that's what I am. I served my sentence and got my old job back. At this point in time, he gestures to the cosmos-spanning spectrograph backdrop. All the scores are settled, and all the falls are behind us. We can let bygones be bygones. Surely here, where everything's a bygone. All right, how's everyone doing tonight? Welcome, Cindy, Lightheart, Nerdy Bird, Dust to Dust. How's everybody doing? I'm in a very good mood. I'm tired. So I really don't know what else I have to say. But since I'm finally past the fucking hell I've been going through and feel like I'm past the apocalypse, I wanted to read those. Good to hear that you're slowly getting better, Dust. And we'll talk soon. I've been easing myself back into work, other than the live streams. I've been doing some private sessions. Hey, Nolan, how you doing? I have absolutely nothing in my head to ramble about. Oh, no problem, Dust. People wishing me a happy birthday. Yeah, isn't that big a deal to me. Good to see you, Gusto. How you doing? Glad to hear you're doing well too, Nerdy Bird. Yeah, I'm happy. Right in the moment, that feels boring. Like I'm content. I don't have anything to complain about. There's nothing my mind's working on that I think is going to make any interesting content. I haven't even used up 12 minutes. I should have had something longer prepared to read. Anyone have any questions or any ideas to see if we can get me rambling? Although I'm doing better now. So maybe some afternoon when some thought comes to me, I will pop on randomly with much more to say. What are NDEs, Dust? Ah, near-death experience. Yes, those are fascinating. Well, I'm glad you enjoy listening to me read. I can just read a bit more Clouds Unfold if nothing comes to me. I feel like I've talked about my own experience getting hit by the bus and the out-of-body near-death experience too many times. But I would still like to do what they do in Flatliners, that old horror movie. I would love to take a break from this fucking body and step over to the other side briefly and come back again. So under controlled conditions, to have them kill you and then bring you back. Yeah, I miss the other side. Anyone else here ever had a near-death experience of any kind? Want to see what I bought myself for my birthday this year? Tim Clark just reissued Boglins from 1987. I fucking loved these as a kid. And I got myself all three, and these are fucking awesome. So if anyone else was into Boglins and you're wondering if the reissues are cool, they're fucking fantastic. I love these things. Kind of wish you had at times. Yes, I had Vlob when I was a kid. So when I was a kid, I had Vlob. They've reissued them as King Vlob. The Boglins have evolved over the past 35 years. They grew horns and evolved into their king form. So I had Vlob as a kid. Now I've got King Vlob. There's King Drool. And King Dwark. But with you saying you've wished you've had a near-death experience, my personal theory is that it would be therapeutic. You know, they give people fucking electroshock therapy to deal with depression or some mental illnesses, and they don't know why the fuck it works. It's like just shocking the system. I think pulling a flatliners would have a healing effect. Just shut the whole body down, let the soul out, let it stretch, reconnect, and bring it back. So did you have a boglin as a kid, Dust? Although if anyone does want a boglin, don't pay the stupid prices marked up on eBay. They sell them at Big Bad Toy Store. Not all ridiculously marked up. I can still remember the first time I saw the fucking commercial for boglins. Where the boglins are convincing you to bring them home, and they'll eat your peas and scare your sister and kiss your aunt. Actually, Gusto, I remember the first time I saw the commercial for boglins. I think I was at my mayor's place. And that commercial drove my little fucking kid brain nuts. I wanted a boglin so fucking bad from the moment I saw that commercial. I find collecting the toys I loved as a kid very therapeutic. It's good therapy for my inner child. I have a fucking ridiculous amount of toys now. Yes, as a kid, I loved dark toys too. I loved everything with monsters. All right, Scott says I need to change my chat name. I keep having to reintroduce myself. Okay, Asa. Yes, I got back to you a while ago on Messenger. And yeah, I lose track of people's fucking alter egos. That's all right. So yes, I had messaged you a little while back on Messenger. I don't think I heard back from you again. I will double check after this, but I'm pretty sure you've already got a message waiting for me. Gusto has an oil next to her called Inner Child. Synchronicity. How you doing though, Asa? Because I know you were in a rough place when I was in a fucking rough place and I wasn't able to talk for a while. But I'm doing way the fuck better. I've had a fantastic, the past 2 weeks have been awesome for me. You still fucking struggling to keep your head above water, or are you doing a bit better? Dirty Bird wants more about Inner Child. All right, for me, like with the idea of working with sub-personalities, although I wasn't actually familiar with that model when I started working with myself that way. Just my own self-therapy I worked out in a lot of ways similar, or at least it's handy to use the language of Ryan's sub-personality model. So when you're working with all the different parts of the system, like different parts have different purposes and different parts need different things. I've found that with, like, of all of my inner parts, my inner child is the part that it seems like everything cares about. Even the fucking like dark shit that tears at me, that is like self-critical and all of that fucking stuff, isn't to the inner child. I find my entire system is very protective of the inner child. And I find that the inner child's the place when I'm overall stressed out, depressed, struggling in some sort of extreme negative state. I find that by tending to the inner child, and like the toy collecting or watching fucking cartoons from that age, like when I opened the Boglins yesterday on my birthday, because they came out in 87. I looked up what movies came out in 87 that I would have liked as a kid. And so I watched Lost Boys last night when I opened the Boglins. Same year, like really tapped into my inner child. But I find when I put like attention to the inner child, that energy flows out into the whole system. Like it's a good place for me to heal and recharge myself, is with my inner child. I never got super into Ninja Turtles, Dust. Most people like my age who collect toys and who collect the ones that I do are into Ninja Turtles. I never got into the Ninja Turtle toys much as a kid. Or the movies. I had the first Nintendo Ninja Turtles game. Asa says, I saw your message. I'll respond tonight so we can set up a talk. Cool. I'm better, at least compared to the internal state I was going through at that time. But that's not saying much. All right, good. Well, at least it's a little better instead of a little worse. Yeah, we're going to talk soon, and we'll find a way to improve it from there. Stick it out, make any small improvement you can make, or at least try not to make it worse. What should I do? Should I keep just responding to this chit chat, or should I just read a bit more from Jerusalem? And hopefully in the future I will have more to talk about. But the past couple weeks I have not been watching podcasts or lectures or shit like that. I've been spending a lot of time in nature and spending a lot of time like enjoying being in a more pleasant state. Maybe we can do a lunatic patrol sometime soon. Although I do want to ease myself back in. I don't want to get caught up and all fucking manic and overwork myself this summer at any point the way I did last summer. I had too rough a winter and spring. I'm too worn down. So I want to try to not go full out this summer at any point at all. I want to try to take it easy this summer. And try to settle into a good fall and winter so that I can be more consistent this year. Instead of burning up a bunch of energy and not taking enough time. Like building my own foundation will just fucking make me crash again in the fall. So I'm aiming to try to get more active, but kind of ease into it and not overwork myself the way I did last year. Try to ease into a more productive and enjoyable fall and winter. Gusto says, I wish more people connected with nature. We are nature, so it's great you're doing that. Yes, that is also so fucking healing. I go outside and feed the birds and the rodents. There's been a lot of chipmunks around this year that I've made friends with. 2 red squirrels and 2 groundhogs that I can pet and hand feed. Like they're around different ones at different times. There's been a lot of birds. There's been more blue jays this year than usual. But I love spending just fucking 6 hours out there with the wildlife. All right. I'm just going to read more random parts from Clouds Unfold. This entire chapter is St. Michael. I'll start at the beginning of it. Clouds unfold. Always now, and always here, and always me. That's what it's like for you. Now always, and here always, and me always. This is what it's like for me. Now, here, me. Now always, even when it's then. Here always, even when it's there. Me always, even when I'm you. Even when I'm in hell and am I fallen? When am I 1,000 fiends? They fold up into you. You fold up into us. We fold up into him. This will be very hard for you. Above space, over history hovering. Genocide and utopia in the downdraft. Woomph, woomph, woomph. Bull roar breath through the white feathers, sent to conscientious cowards, blood objectors. Woomph, woomph, woomph. Seeing and being everything, never detached and never distant, pitying you and admiring you, endlessly angry, endlessly in love, Auschwitz and Rembrandt in the upbeat. Woomph, woomph, woomph. The view from here is fierce. The view from here is final. From above, the world is a stupendous flayed anatomy, motionless on its slab of stars. It does not move or change or grow, save for the way it is expressed in the concealed direction. Burning gas and vaporized ore, spinning into molten balls, the magma crusting over with a thin black rind of elements. And in the heat and poison, there is life here, even now. Microbial seethings in the cyanide drifts and the hydrochloric puddles. Reading Cosmos, left from right, from bang to crunch, from germ to worm to glinting cyborg and beyond, the woven tapestry unpicks itself, reorganizes into new designs. The marbling of cloud changes its color. Leaning closer like impassive doctors, mottled planet meat is visible. Exposed, a skin of circumstance, pinned back in plump and larded folds. The worms grow backbones and the newts sprout feathers. Bus routes alter and post offices are closed. Perfectly ripe, the scab lifts from the knee intact, reveals a waxy pinkness underneath. I know I am a text made only of black words. I know you are observing me. I know you, and I know your grandmother. I know the far threads of your family line, reading me in 100 years, reading me now, from left to right, from Genesis to Revelation. Syphilis and Mailer in the wheeling arc, the holding pattern. Woomph, woomph, woomph. In my beginnings, am I a black word against the blinding white? Am I a meaning staining the ineffable? All my identity is in this quadrant crease, this angle, wherein am I folded down from singularity with my three brothers, each of us in 90 paces. Count the gold degrees of our awareness, our domain. Each of us has his corner, has his pocket. Each of us has his own element to work with and his own direction of the wind. These are our nails. These are our hammers. Fire and flood and hurricane and avalanche. We are the strong hand in the nuclear flash. We are the weak hand in the isotope's decay. We are the hand wherefrom the lightnings bristle, the hand that flings the apple or the suicide alike to earth. Four master builders. We have rods and we have measures. We are crowbars of creation. We are smiling in the hum and harmony before the world starts. I'm going to jump ahead. He's looking at different parts through history. I am in Golgotha now. I touch the perspiration-heavy sleeve of Peter that is once called Egbert, telling him to take the stone cross jutting from the dry earth at his feet, to set it at the center of his land. I take a step. We are in Horseshoe Street, and he is a year older, dying in the marvels, dying in the pigeons and the rain. The lines are all precise. The spot is marked. The rood is in the wall. In Tennessee, I seize a drunk plantation keeper's hand, curl it to scrolls and triangles as he designs the brand. On his cathedral platform, Ernest Vernal screams and weeps. The fire burns from his hair to leave white ash as he receives the brunt of an exploded education. My lips moving in the fresco. He is cowering amidst the tins and dishes, and I am remembering the episode when I am him. How terrible it is to see my giant eyelids blinking from the antic skitter of the paint. How comical it is when I explain the shape of time and drive him mad with chimneys. Thunders roll about the dome, which are my skirt of noise and electricity. I am a builder, and I bang the words and numbers into him so that his children tally different sums or dance to altered music. And now, Ernest is in Bedlam. I sit here by his asylum cot, the sheets marked with a dried shit of delusion, where I wait for him to speak out and not only look at me and cry. I am in all my images. I watch you through a billion Christmas cards. I am there in all my words, there in the hymn, there in the lover's flattering serenade. A bland popular song plays on the radio, and for an instant I flare up, albeit vaguely. In a million minds, an angle played upon your heart. I am sighting down my straight queue at a rounded life, precariously at rest on the world's bays, and in its glaze the dancing highlights glint of soul. I knock the reason and the color both from Ernest Vernal's head. I squeeze May out into a gutter and send fever carts to carry off her firstborn daughter. I cram Snowy's mouth with flowers, and I throw the poison dust in Michael's eyes. I bank, roll into the high thermals, majesty and rubble in the dive, the tailspin. Woomph, woomph, woomph. Of course we know pain. We know cowardice and spite and falsehood. We know everything. I call my brother Uriel a cunt. We punch and gouge each other in the town square, and the wind raised by our feud alone blows ghosts halfway to Wales. The repercussions ring across the earth. He blacks my eye, and China's great leap forward carries it into an economic abyss. I collapse his nose, and Castro comes to power in Cuba. From my split lip dribbles structuralism, rock and roll, and hovercrafts. We pick the golden clots before they're ready, and the Belgian Congo blooms with severed heads. Of course we stride among you, thigh deep in your politics and your mythology. We wade through the pink map scrap petals of your rapidly disintegrating commonwealth. We march in a black tide on Washington. We juggle satellites in Francis Bacon. We are builders. We build Allen Ginsberg and Neimer's Cathedral in Brasilia. We slap up the Berlin Wall. Clouds pass across the sun. We're with you now. Of course we dance on pins and level cities. We deliver up the Jews from Pharaoh. We flutter tender in the first kiss, flap in agony above the last row in a drafty kitchen. We know what fellatio tastes like and how childbirth feels. We climb upon each other's back in shower cubicles to flee the fumes. We are in the serene molecular indifference of the Zyklon and the dull heart of the man who turns the wheel to open up the ducts. We are forever standing on those bank steps in Hiroshima as the reality surrounding us collapses into an atomic hell. That moment when you reach your orgasm together, and it is the sweetest, the most perfect instant that you would have ever lived through. We are both of you. We keep slaves, and we write Amazing Grace. Of course we shout, of course we sing, of course we kill and love, we cheat in business, and we give our lives for others. We discover penicillin, and we dump the children that we have strangled in back alleys. We bomb Guernica just to create that painting, and the bursts of smoke and scream beneath us are our brush marks. We are from the realms of glory. We are from the nursery, the school, the abattoir, the brothel. How could we be otherwise? You fold up into us. We fold up into him. We are in every second of 1 billion trillion lives. We're every ant, each microbe and leviathan. Of course we're lonely. Everything swirls in my eye. If I but blink, all of existence breaks down to an alphabet of particles, and thence only to numbers, to an endless sea of values, circling in radiant symmetry about their axis, which reside between the figures 4 and 5. When multiplied with their resultant digits added, these reflect each other perfectly, as do the numbers 3 and 6, and 9 and 0, 10 and -1, 16 and -7, and on to the positive and negative infinity alike. There at the center of the numerical hurricane I stand. Its eye is mine. I am between the 4 and 5, where is the pivot of the universe. I am revolving slowly between mercy and severity, between the blue shift and the red. I breathe in and the stars tumble towards me, toppling back into their single white-hot quark. into the minus numbers. I breathe out an aerosol of black exotic matter, galaxies, and magnetars, positive sums exploding from my lip into the cold and dark extremities of time. I am too often angry, cleaving more towards the 5, the fingers in a clenched fist, than towards the 4, the ones clasped in a handshake, those extended in a stroke or a caress. Too often am I inclined to severity, towards the red rather than the cayenne of forgiveness. This, then, is the reason that we keep our Q-tips blue, as a reminder of compassion and its weak force, so that even when we smash the balls towards their predetermined pockets, we bestow sky-colored kisses of eternal grace and mercy made from billiard chalk. I see Maria Roberta Stiles, age 4, arranging daisy heads on miniature pink plastic plates for a tea party to which she'll invite her Teddy and her mother, the twin soft toys that she loves best in the world. She pours a cold fusion of fruit pastilles and tap water into the tiny cups and takes it in both ends in a spit roast with her pimp Keith and his mate Dave just 13 years later. Marla asks her mother if she'd like dried sultana as dessert and spits out semen, scolds the glassily impassive bear for falling off his chair as she sucks up crystal smoke. She calls sultanas tanas, and a rosy-cheeked father of 2 punches her in the face and rapes her in the back of his Ford Escort. And I love her. I see Freddie Allen stealing pints of milk and dying underneath a railway arch. I see him as a young man waiting in Catherine's garden for the doctor's daughter that he plans to sexually assault upon her way to work. I'm running with him, weeping with him as he flees the scene of horror. At himself, the deed undone. I see him sleeping in the weeds. I see the gray trudge of his afterlife. All Freddie feels that he deserves. His guilt has turned to anger, resonating through his days, so that he has no hope now of release. The loaves and bottles are all gone with the doorsteps they stood upon. Nothing can ever be put right. I see Egbert, who is called Peter, with his sandal idly scruffing the Golgotha dirt, revealing a protruded corner of gray stone, too obviously chiseled to be natural, its angles right. He claws and scrabbles for an hour to finally unearth an ancient rood. Holding it up, two-handed in the sun, to see it better, soil rains on his sweaty brow, his slippery cheek falls into the sargasso of his beard. He tastes the crucifixion ground, and he wears the cold shadow of the cross upon his face. His heart sounds rhythmic blacksmith clanging. He totters unaware upon the precipice of his mortality. There at the brink he sees me, and the meaning of the universe is altered evermore about him. In France, for his mighty perspiration, he is known as Le Canal, which means the channel. At the very start, there are 1,000 planets racketing about their solar systems, ricocheting and rebounding, pulverizing one another in a pinball free-for-all. And this is where we get the idea for our Trilliard game. Something hits the fledgling world with debris from both bodies settling at the edge of Earth's field of gravity, coagulating into a moon, a lucky opening break. Some short while later, a less sizable projectile makes its impact, and also its contribution to the culling of the thunder lizards. In the aftermath, amoebic creatures, called agglutinated foraminifera clothe themselves with protective tests of meteoric nickel and space cobalt, plating their unicellular forms in peacock displays of microscopic diamond dust. The ornaments of their miniature cosmos, clad with jewelry from the void, they scintillate there in the late crustaceous silence, in the very dusk of life. They neither know about nor have concern for the extinctions of the macrocosm. They remain oblivious to the trees and monsters toppling and dying overhead. In the long night that follows the extraterrestrial collision, in their multitudes, they are as various as snowflakes, and yet I know each one intimately. Know them by their individual coruscations, their signature sparkle. They move with the moon's pull, with the magnet tides, as do the generations that come after them, migrating on lunar meridians to feed the underwater bugs that feed the fish, that feed the birds and bears and crouching monkey men. You will appreciate that our game involves a great deal of strategy. Sometimes we're on the ball. Sometimes we get distracted, miss the easy shot, but only when we're meant to. I give Solomon the holy Taurus, and he wears it on his index finger when he subjugates the howling jinns that have rampaged through Egypt and the Middle East as an infernal weather pattern, as a hornet swarm. When he elects that they should build his temple, I try to prevent it with a safety shot, but I misjudge. I miss. The binding of the fiends is going well enough until the sorcerer king gets to the 32nd spirit, at which point the king is obviously out of his depth. He has failed to anticipate the unbelievable ferocity that senior devils like Asmodeus will resort to if you have them in a corner. The thing takes shape in the pentacle, three-headed and no bigger than a doll, astride a cat-sized dragon form that is its steed. The bull's head lows, the ram's head bleats, and the crowned human dwarf's head in the creature lets forth a flood of terrifying threats, and its vile breath alike to fill the room. It stamps the pommel of its gory lance upon the flagstones of the Magus, and the Magus panics, flinching back so that the layman hung about his neck comes untied at one end and clatters to the floor. By then the chamber is aflame and flickering spider salamanders, and the operation has become a screaming pandemonium, a catastrophe. I close my marbled eyes and turn away. In consequence of this, I do not know what next occurred. It may be that the founder of the temple was possessed by the Ifrit, or it may be that the rabbinical scholars claim was Solomon flung far away into the desert land and driven from his wits while the triumphant demon steals his shape. It may be that Asmodee merely takes advantage of the king's discomfort to plant destructive notions into his mind. And it may well be that the 32nd spirit does nothing at all, and all of the calamities to come are Solomon's alone. I only know that when I look back, the first temple is completed, with the malice of 72 tempters, flatterers, and devastators, coded into its columns and its lines. A focus for the world's three most belligerent religions. I see crusade, jihad, and retaliatory airstrike circling the pillars of the structures round. I see a foul and fruity pulp of tortured men, raped women, and pulverized children sliding down its ancient walls. King Solomon, what a colossal idiot. I keep up with the continuing argument over intelligent design. Although if one subscribes to the late 20th century ideas of consciousness as an emergent property, the disagreement vanishes. If self-awareness can emerge from systems that have passed a certain threshold of complexity, then is not the expanding universe of space and time, by definition, the most complex system that can possibly exist? Mark that I do not seek to trespass on the faiths or ideologies of others with this observation. I'm just saying. I sit through all of the extinctions, all the species that have reached the natural end of their extension into the concealed direction. Every other week, a human language dies. Beautiful, unique life forms with intricate skeletons of grammar, delicately hinged by syntax. They grow weaker in the folds and the wings of their objective gossamer. They make their last frail noises and then crumble into incoherence, into silence, no more to be heard. A stilled tongue every fortnight, a concluded song, hark, the glad sound. There's a television channel that is broadcast only to the nearly dead, transmitted on a disinfectant fugue through care home day rooms, terminal ward, twilights. Senile screens provide the best reception. Signals sparking in corroded diodes, fraying synapses. The station's logo, white upon closed eyelid black, depicts a cruelly rendered set of balances above the winding ribbon of a stylized path. Accompanying this, there's a 4-note trumpet flourish, serving as the channel's theme tune. Albert Good sits in the armchair at his Dustin home, having just woken up from a nap, to find the telly on and some sort of afternoon play in progress. Even though it's all in black and white, Albert can tell immediately that it's one of those modern dramas that he doesn't care for much. One of those Wednesday night things where somebody's always either sleeping rough or pregnant. He'd get up and switch it off, but he's been feeling so run down lately that he hasn't got the energy. Can only sit and watch. There seems to only be one set involved in the production, with the audience looking at the broad flight of stone steps which rise beneath the huge porch of a church. Giant stone columns, more than likely made from the painted plywood, rear up at each side, framing the scene. To Albert, it looks like the very front of All Saints Church here in Northampton. Although he supposes that there must be lots of places throughout England that look similar, having been built around the same time and in the same style. Between the Gothic pillars, it is night. The only lighting is positioned to resemble that off-stage street lamps, filtering into a pearly gloom beneath the portico. Hymns are, of course, tremendously important, be they penned by William Blake, John Bunyan, Philip Doddridge, or John Newton. An attempted transcendental poetry intended for the common multitude. They fertilize the dreams and visions that shall grow into the very boardwalks of man's soul. As they depict hell or depict heaven, so too do they build those places, brick by brick, stanza by stanza. Come, lift up your hearts and voices and rejoice. Give me a platform of ideas and harmonies on which to gesture and unfurl my wings. Give me a place to stand. I know I am a text. I know that you are reading me. This is the biggest difference that there is between us. You do not know you are a text. You don't know that you're reading yourself. What you believe to be self-determined life that you are passing through is actually a book already written that you have become absorbed in, and not for the first time. When this current reading is concluded, when the coffin lid, rear cover is eventually shut tight, Then you immediately forget that you've already struggled through it, and you pick it up again, perhaps attracted by the striking and heroic picture of yourself that's there on the dust jacket. You wade once more through the glossolalia of the novel's opening and that startling birth scene, all in the first person, foggily described in a confusion of new tastes and scents and terrifying lights. You linger in delight over the childhood passages and savor all of the powerfully realized new characters as they are introduced. The mother and the dad, the friends and relatives and enemies, each with their memorable quirks, their singular allure. Engrossing as you find these useful exploits, you discover that you're merely skimming certain of the later episodes out of sheer boredom, thumbing through the pages of your days, skipping ahead, impatient for the adult content and pornography that you assume to be waiting you in the next chapter. When this turns out to be less an unalloyed joy, less abundant than you have anticipated, you feel vaguely cheated, and you rail against the author for a time. But then, though, all of the story's major themes are welling up around you in the yarn: madness and love and loss, destiny and redemption. You begin to understand the true scale of the work, its depth and its ambition, qualities that have expanded you until now. There's a dawning apprehension, a sense that the tale may not be in the category you have previously supposed, that of the picturesque, adventure, or sexy comedy. Alarmingly, the narrative progresses past the reassuring borderlines of genre into the unnerving territory of the avant-garde. For the first time, you wonder if you've bitten off more than you can chew, embarked upon some weighty magnus opus by mistake when you'd intended to pick up only a potboiler, holiday reading for the airport or the beach. You start to doubt your capabilities as reader, doubt your ability to stick this mortal fable out to its conclusion without the attention wavering. And even if you finish it, you doubt that you're astute enough to understand the saga's message, if message there be. You privately suspect that it will sail over your head. And yet, what can you do but keep on living? Keep turning the calendar leaf pages, urged on by that cover blurb that says, if you read only one book in your life, then make it this one. Not until you're more than halfway through the tome, near the 2/3 mark, do the earlier, seeming random plot lines start to make some kind of sense to you. The meanings and the metaphors begin to resonate. The ironies and the motifs reveal themselves. You're still not sure if you've read all this before or not. Some elements seem awfully familiar. You have an occasional premonition as to how one of the subplots will work out. An image or a line of dialogue will sometimes strike a chord of deja vu, but by and large, it all seems like a new experience. It doesn't matter if this is the second or 100th reading. It seems fresh to you, and whether begrudgingly or not, you seem to be enjoying it. You don't want it to end. But when it's concluded, when the coffin lid rear cover is eventually shut tight, you immediately forgot that you've already struggled through it, and you pick it up again, perhaps attracted by the striking and heroic picture of yourself that's there in the dust jacket. It's the mark of a good book, they say, if you can read it more than once and still find something new each time. All right, that's enough reading. And look, I made it to an hour. Hello, Caesar. I am doing much fucking better. I hope you're doing well too. Anyone have any final thing to say? Because I made it to the hour. And I still don't have anything that I really feel like saying on my own, and I'm tired of reading. Anyway, shit's going good. I'm sure I'll be around a bit more than before. If anyone's struggling or wants to talk for whatever reasons, go ahead and send me a message. I'm starting to work through all my backlog messages, and I'm starting to do some private sessions. Yeah, I got fucking nothing else to say. So God bless. Lunatic love to all. I'll see you next time.